Well, speaking of a proposition and campaigning, let's talk about how the current political climate may be affecting singles looking for connections in the dating pool. Dating expert Damona Hoffman is here to share her insight, the impact of politics is having on dating. Thanks for joining us, Damona.
Thank you for having me.
Well, first off,
what
tell
timing,
us,
too.
Yeah, I know, right? Coming off the heels of that debate, tell us how big of a factor is someone's political affiliation and beliefs playing in the dating game?
It is really impacting the way people are matching today in a couple of different ways. There has been a study on how people are matching based on political affiliation, and 84% of people are saying that they will not match with someone on the other side of the aisle. And even when we look to dating apps, I love looking at OkCupid data because they have all this information and they've been in the game so long, and they're even seeing they added a voter badge option to declare that you are voting in the 2020 election, and they found that not only did 185,000 of their users choose to add this, to declare that, but they're also seeing that those people are having a better experience. They're having more matches, 63% more matches, just by saying, I'm voting.
Wow. So you're saying that people who vote or say that they're a voter, they're more likely to attract a date.
They're more likely to attract a date, and it's more important to them that they match with someone else who is a voter. So OkCupid also found that people are willing to go farther to find a date. It used to be that how far someone is was one of the biggest factors in whether or not they found someone to be a match. But they're actually seeing that people will go further to match someone who votes.
That's really interesting. We see political polarization. It's all around us, very prevalent on social media. Is that a turnoff for singles looking to find their match? Or maybe it's sexy?
I don't know if it's sexy, but it's certainly a factor in attraction. But I find that it's better to subtly indicate your interests and your political beliefs rather than to hit someone over the head and say, if you're voting this way, I will not date you. So I say, like in your profile, you should subtly indicate, I love watching Rachel Maddow or Sean Hannity. And that will tell the people who are right for you that they're right, and the people who are wrong, trust me, they'll run away.
Yeah, you'll kind of know which way they're leaning. Now, it's probably not a good idea to bring up politics on a first date, but you know what? At this point in time, I need to know.
No, definitely not. The old rule is still the same. So many rules are changing right now, Aubrey, but that's one that I think is still a constant. Do not talk about politics on a first date. It's not sexy, and it won't tell you what you really need to know about whether that person is a match for you or not.
Okay, well, we'll save it for the second date. What tips do you have for tackling that topic of politics? I mean, a lot of people may only want to get intimately involved with someone who's going to share their similar perspective on issues like social justice and racism.
You can certainly tell a lot about how someone leans based on the conversations you have on the later dates, as you said. And also, you mentioned social media earlier. That is definitely a way to filter your dates. And I like to tell people that your entire online presence is your dating profile, not just what you put on your dating profile, but the way that you behave online really indicates the kind of person you are, the beliefs that you have, and how you'll be as a potential match.
That's so true. We joke about, oh, you know, you're kind of trolling or you're, you know, doing a little bit of research, but it does tell you a lot. There's a lot to be observed. And I also wanted to touch on the fact that we're in a pandemic, and I'm sure COVID is changing the way people can date. Maybe it's slowing things down, too.
Yeah, the pace of dating has changed dramatically over the last 6 months. We were in such a frenetic rush pace before. It was just like swipe, 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 get onto the date. And people were really feeling burned out. But now I'm actually seeing that COVID has sort of flipped the way that we screen for dates. And so we're not just looking for attraction, we're looking for how safe we feel someone is. And we're taking more time. Like a lot of apps have added a video chat feature. And now people are using that as a replacement for a date or even as a filter to decide if somebody is right for a social
just like that first job interview, we're doing that virtual. It's not that in-person interview right away. So that is a good tool.
You have to work up to it.
To do it virtually, no in-person contact. And people are worried about staying safe. Are there any safety measures people should apply to dating?
Well, I feel that you have to decide what your own comfort level is. And just like, talking about some of the other issues can be a little bit uncomfortable, but I find that it's vitally important for you to understand if somebody is taking the same COVID precautions that you are. And for me and for my clients and my Dates and Mates podcast listeners, I tell them you want to do a social distance date first before you take the masks off and just run off into the sunset. You want to practice what I call slow love and get to know them slowly over time so that you can trust them and you can build off of that.
I love that, Damona. So much to talk about. We're going to have you back on. If you want more of her dating tips, tune into her podcast, Dates and Mates. You can find it on Apple Podcasts and iHeartRadio.